Welcome back to Tokyo Ghoul Anime Review Part 3. This one I'm going to review the two OVAs that Tokyo Ghoul released, and I'm also going to give my brief thoughts on the sequel series Tokyo Ghoul Re-Manga. Yes. First is Tokyo Ghoul Jack, taking place exactly 12 years before the start of the actual series, where two characters who essentially put minor characters in the actual manga, Armand and Fuka, I think his name is. Pretty much, it's a story like how they met and how they later, of course, Fuka. Of course, goes by his last name a lot of the time. Though his first name, I think his name is Shin. I think it is. Let me look it up here. I have the site up here. Let's see. It is. Hmm. I just want to be correct by the guy's first name because he's gone by his last name a lot of the time in this thing. Tashi. Yeah, Tashi. Yeah, and pretty much this whole thing is focused on him. Armand, just the guy who just happened to be a fellow classmate of his, who just happened to be dragged along. But the story focuses on Tashi the whole time. Yep, it's like it starts off with him and his two childhood friends, uh, where it kind of gives like a small like little montage of how they were when they grew up. It just shows them a little bit. Of course, him getting into a fight with his best friend Tatsu. And of course, he goes off to school. Apparently, he barely goes to school. And get this, he goes to school with his shirt open. Of course, he's wearing a t-shirt underneath, a tooth necklace, and he wears sandals. Even though probably that the school uniform requires him to wear a button-up shirt, a tie, depends upon who's wearing it, depends on which, and of course wearing dress shoes. He of course wears flip-flop sandals, because he's just a surfer dude. That's basically the way he is. And apparently he used to play baseball. Yep. So he's got a good pitching arm. Okay, fine. Yep. And then eventually it cuts to his friends riding motorcycles and driving very dangerously. Get to an alley, and two of the guys they hang out with decide to go off and give himself a drink. They all get soda. And then, of course, the two friends are killed by a ghoul known as Lantern. Yeah, that's what identify this one as Lantern. This particular ghoul is referenced in the actual anime itself as a famous ghoul from the past, and it is referenced in the manga. I barely remember it, but yeah, this. As for who Lantern is, I'll spoil that in a minute. It's a bit of a shocker when you watch the anime. It's like, okay, so this woman is actually Lantern. Yep. And I don't know if this was the animator's idea to do this, but the one-eyed owl who was revealed to be in the actual series to be the writer who Kenshi and Himori are huge fans of. Yep. This particular writer is also a ghoul. Yeah, they revealed this in Tokyo Ghoul Re. Yeah, the whole thing of her sitting on a very high ledge and kicking her feet. Yeah, that is a trait that the one-eyed owl is known for doing as well. And apparently, I don't know if the animators probably thought, okay, I guess because, well, the Lantern's a woman, so let's have her sit on a ledge and have her dangling her feet, like kicking her feet like crazy. Of course, the writer does the same thing in the actual anime, just kicking her feet underneath the table. Well, she doesn't kick the table itself, but she's a little bit kicking here or there because that's just a habit of hers. Yep. So, yeah. So he saves his friend Ruka from the Lantern. Of course, Armand shows up, takes out his sword, and just sort of bends her off as she gets away. And it turns out he was sent there to It turns out he's actually a CCG investigator. He's a ghoul investigator, and he was sent there to kill this particular ghoul. That was basically his job. But since yeah, and of course he later tries to tell him exactly what's going on. Of course, he does explain a little bit later after he saves a girl from another ghoul, which this ghoul wears a half mask, and this guy is a hairstylist, and this guy is kind of gross. So they get a sample of this woman to go after her. He takes a little bit of her hair and he swallows it. I'm like, gross. Yeah, really, really gross. And he puts out a half mask trying to kill her. And of course, he gets killed himself by Armand and the other guy. Yep. Armand and Tachi. And of course, this is at this point, this point we feel he's actually a ghoul investigator. And because the woman says like 2 people involved, it's like his boss was going to simply just end his undercover assignment right there because 2 people found out about 2 civilians. But he decided to keep him along, and just, of course, Matsuka she basically was the one who gathered intelligence, while Tachi and Arkamon basically go out and kill ghouls. Fine, whatever. It's a pretty good arrangement. Excuse me. And then when they get to when they found a particular ghoul, which this woman suspects to be a ghoul, and turns out he really is one, because he's wearing a half mask that covers like half his mouth. Yeah, it covers like the lower half of his face. And then basically it's revealed that, yep, she is in fact the Lantern, and of course she gets stabbed by Arkamon, but this is not killed by her per se. She's actually killed by Tatsuki. Yep, he kills her, and the reason why he killed his best friend is because she hates people like him. People are reckless and stuff like that, and she tried to live a normal life, which basically does tie into certain characters in the actual series, like Toshi. Yeah, how she's trying to live a normal life despite the fact being a ghoul and going to school, going to college, stuff like that. So it's similar circumstances to her. Of course, Arkamon kills her, and then of course later on they sort of have her sort of bury the truth. They probably have revealed she's just transferred someplace else, and of course Arkamon basically got transferred to a different school. And then later on, revealed 12 years later, Tachi became an investigator, and looks like he became a senior investigator. And Ruka, his childhood friend who also lost her right eye, or at least got her right eye damaged, later on revealed that they actually got married, and they had a daughter together, and he really loves his wife. Kudos. And of course, you get a chance to see Arkamon in present day, where his hair is no longer blue; it's all white. I'm not kidding. Yep, and apparently, I'm not kidding about this. Apparently, Tachi's hair in when you see in the main story, he's got red hair, and yet when they show him in the future, his hair is black. I don't really know why they did that for, but they did. Yep, they did. Now, Arkamon is currently deceased right now in the manga. Yeah, but as for Tachi, he's alive and well. And of course, the thing ends basically just happened passed by, and that's simply that. Great animation, great writing, and overall a good story. And I also recommend the actual manga that this particular OVA is based upon. This is a prequel manga. It's only a 7-chapter miniseries, and the anime adapts it really well. Kudos. Yep. Next up is Tokyo Pinto, which is basically Shu meeting Chili. Yeah, this is the story of how they met. Shin, he's a fantastic character. I love this guy in the anime. Such a delight. Hear this guy speak. I love this guy, especially in the dub. I don't mind the sub act. He does a fantastic job of what he does. I mean, he's such a delight. Just an extravagant, rich guy who also is a ghoul. Yeah, he's also heir to a multi-million-dollar fortune. Yep. And it turns out that this one particular that how they meet is a bit unusual. He's about to eat somebody, and then Chili just pops out of a bush and just takes a picture of him when he's about to take his first bite. I'm like, wow. It's kind of like an awkward meeting. And instead of, since he's a ghoul, instead of eating her, he takes her out for ice cream. Yes, he does. He takes her out for ice cream. It turns out that she's 16, despite the fact she looks like she's about 12. I don't know how, it's just that's what she is. And it's later revealed she's famous for being an oddball around the school because she constantly takes pictures And she apparently doesn't go to class for some reason. I'm like, that's odd. Yep. And the story, and he sort of and there's this one particular student who's got black hair. It turns out she's actually his maid, who sort of keeps an eye on him at school. Which, okay, that's a bit unusual. I never heard of it where a maid sort of goes undercover as a student as a school, just to keep an eye on the heir to a big fortune. Yeah. Of course, in the manga right now, he's the head of the family because, well, that's basically where he is in the manga. And at this point in time in the series, he's only 17 and she's 16. Yeah. And so he brings her to a university hospital where they watch a old man and of course a beautiful nurse basically just walking by. He drops out like a little hanky, and he just uses it as an excuse to basically rub up the nurse's rear, just touch her rear end, and he just forgets all about how he does that. Yep. And then he sort of invites her to, and then later on basically invites her to a dinner show, and it turns out this nurse is actually abusing his patient by taking her shoe and whacking him with it. Apparently she was doing this for quite a while because there's bruises on his legs, his chest, and his face. Yep. And it turns out he also has fruit in his room. Yeah, and Chili tries someone, and the thing is rotten. Yeah, I'm like, okay, dude, you have this delicious food, delicious healthy food right near your bed, and you choose not to eat it. What the heck is your problem? Yeah. So and of course, Shin shows up. Of course, somehow she must have opened the window somehow off screen, and of course, she takes a picture. She's in the process of whacking him. Chili takes a picture of her, and then she's about to attack her. Like, who are you? And all of a sudden, Shinjo's like completely out of nowhere, just happened to get through the window, throws her against the wall. He tells her, like, can I talk to her for a minute? He's like, sure. And of course, he takes a couple chunks of the old man. And they talk for a while. And of course, he tries to kill her by throwing her out of her window. Well, holding her over ledge and just dropping her. Then later on, he catches her for some reason. It's a bit bizarre, but okay, fine. He catches her, and of course, he asks to become his pet, per se. She kind of declines, but she becomes close friends with him. And of course, while this is going on, and of course, to cover up her abuse toward him, she basically kills her patient, and she gets away with it because apparently she claims some unknown person killed this old man. And of course, the thing sort of cuts away and short in the credits that you see Shin and Chili just happily just having some drink, and of course he's using his laptop and showing up pictures. Of course, the reason why he had to sort of kept her alive, she told like the good thing kept her alive because we could get blockbusters, but she doesn't have a computer. But she decided to stick around because of good friends, and because she becomes later on a good informant of his in the manga. Mm-hmm. But overall, this was a really interesting one. I really wish they would give more center focus stories on Shin, which does not involve Kenshin. Yep. Yep. Yeah, but overall, great one. But this particular story is not based upon a manga. This is based upon a short story from a light novel I have not read yet. I think it's based upon the short story from Days. Hers based upon the third story in that one. Here's the thing. I haven't read the Tokyo Ghoul light novels, so I don't know how accurate this is to how the story presented, but it's a great OVA for what it is. Otherwise, though, that's it for the OVAs. But let's talk about the Tokyo Ghoul manga. Currently 156 chapters in, roughly 13 chapters longer than the original Tokyo Ghoul series. This particular series picks up 2 years after the original one ended, with Kensuke working for the CCC as an investigator, of course, after amnesia, though he keeps up his reading. And of course, you see characters go along with their normal lives. Yeah, a lot of the thing of him being an investigator, this lasts for a good period of time. This lasts until about around like chapter 80 or so. Of course, he breaks his conditioning, rescues the little girl who's close to an actual sister, and of course, he breaks her out. He later on he basically forms an organization known as GOAT. And the investigator who he sort of spared his life. He later on dies and then becomes an artificial ghoul, and it's later revealed that his female partner, who apparently, if you watch the anime, apparently she's in love with him, and he appreciates he sort of appropriates her feelings, and they become a couple, and then they disappear for a while. They show once recently, and then that's really it for them. Of course, Kenshin pretty much reunited with everybody, and then later on when he's on the run with Toka in chapter 125, and I gotta talk about this. The whole chapter is Toka and Kensuke having sex. I am not kidding. There's a whole chapter dedicated to them basically having sex. And then a few chapters later, they get married. Yes. And apparently ghouls get married by biting each other. I am not kidding about this. They bite each other. And then, of course, they have a ceremony, stuff like that. It was nice. It looked like it was a nice little fun little ceremony. Of course, everybody knew by reading this manga that Kensuke and Toka had a thing for each other, so this honestly makes sense. And also, that one night stand they had in that warehouse, she got pregnant. Yep, she's pregnant with Kenshin's child. She hasn't given birth yet because it hasn't been that long. I mean, she's not even shown that she's visible time, but she's definitely pregnant. And oh yeah, and because the fact Kenshin married her, yeah, her brother automatically becomes his brother-in-law. Yep. So there was that. Oh yeah, and also Toka's best friend gets married. Yep, she gets married. And doesn't invite her best friend to the wedding. I'm like, what the heck is your problem, girl? You can't invite your best friend to your wedding you haven't seen in a while. Just find out where she is and basically send an invite. Yeah, I don't know what was with that. And of course, now Kensuke is actually inside of a giant creature, and they're trying to get him out. And that's what's currently going on in the manga. He turned like to a giant centipede after the guy has all 4 of his limbs chopped off. So all that's left of him is his head and his torso. Yeah. Though later he did grow his arms back, but yeah, now they're trying to get him out, though they're fighting another woman who apparently he's got a thing for Kenshin. Yeah, and she's like one of 2 other women, aside from Toku, who's got a thing for him. Yeah. And turns out the female writer, who I mentioned in the previous episode, in the previous part, yeah, the whole thing of, yeah, she's in love with him, though in a very twisted way. And I mentioned this is how it kind of similar to a few other series like this, where you have the main character and there's another woman who just happened to be in love with him. And here's the thing. Here's something that Elsbeth, Mitsuka, and Sin have in common. All 3 of these women are public figures. Elsbeth is a ruthless general. Mitsuka is a teen idol. And Shin is a female is basically a novelist. But here's something interesting though. The main character doesn't end up the main character of the 3 series that I bring up for these like Akame ga Kill, Death Note, and of course Tokyo Ghoul, the main characters end up with any of these women at all. Though in the case of Mitsuka, Light does get engaged to her, but they never marry. Though it was later revealed in another continuity that she got pregnant, had a child. There's that. But Tokyo Ghoul Re is a great manga series, and I highly recommend it. Though, to get it in the books, there's only been 2 books released so far. The last book came out last month. Book 3 is coming out next month. In Japan, they're only up to book 13 right now. 14 has not even been released yet. So, yeah, and here's the thing. They had just finished releasing the original Tokyo Ghoul series just not too long ago. And even though the series finished up roughly just a few years ago, they finally releasing the English translation of these books here. Of course, Viz Media takes their sweet time releasing stuff. I'm not kidding about this. They did the same thing with Naruto. I looked it up. Apparently, they release the book in English 3 years after it comes out in Japan. I'm like, what the heck takes so long to translate these books into English? Yeah, of course, that's one of Viz Media's biggest problems. They take way too long to release stuff. The products are fine. I love the products they put out. It's just that releasing it takes it. They take their sweet time to release this stuff. Yep. So in Japan, Tokyo Re is already up to 13 volumes, and we're only up to 2 here. So we're roughly 11 books behind. In the case of One Piece, where in Japan they've only released up to 87, here they released up to 84. So at least that with that one, that one's only like 3 books behind. Re, it's 11 books behind. I'm not kidding about this. If you look up the release dates of these books, yeah, you'll believe me about that. And it turns out a lot of these books won't come out until like later on this year or even next year. So if you want to get to book 13, you have to wait till next year for the book to come out here. Because Viz Media takes their sweet time releasing stuff. That's just basically the way they are. But yeah, it's a great series. I managed to catch up with the series by reading online. I will not put in the description the name of the website. You have to look up yourself where to find chapters for this particular manga. But it's an overall great manga series. Though, here's something unique about Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Re. Despite the fact you have ghouls basically eating our people, eating humans, this is not really shown all that much. A lot of the time, the writer cares more about advancing the story than grossing people out, which is great. Though I do have one thing that's quite weird about the writer of the series, Shin Nishida. This is the only series this guy writes. He wrote the original series, the sequel series, and Jack. Now, other manga writers have written their one-shots, other mini-series, but he's probably the only one who just writes, everything he writes is Tokyo Ghoul, which is fine and all, but you don't release anything else. It's a bit bizarre. I also thought it was bizarre, though, he ended Tokyo Ghoul and then relaunched the Tokyo Ghoul Re just for a time skip. Yeah. That's basically what he did. I don't know why he did it for. It's the only manga series I've actually heard of where they skip ahead 2 years later. I mean, you could have just kept the series going, just put the series on hold for like a month like they did with One Piece, and just have a time skip. It's that simple. But instead, you decided to end one series and restart the numbering, and just... Now, the series was publishing for at least for 3 years, as of this week. Yeah, 3 years. This is a weekly manga series. And the series is still really good. I do recommend it, definitely. But otherwise, though, that's really it for this episode. And so stay tuned for part 4 when I get a chance to talk about the live-action film, which came out last year for Tokyo Ghoul. And this will probably be the last one I do for a little while, for at least for a few months until Tokyo Ghoul Re anime comes out. I will be doing specials when I get a chance to review a new chapter that comes out for Tokyo Ghoul Re, or if I get a chance to review any of the 3 light novels. That's what I'll do specials for. And maybe some top 10s. That's what we'll probably do for the specials. But part 4 will be the last one I do for relation of the actual in the row. So starting with part 5 would actually be reviews of the actual Tokyo Ghoul Re anime. That's basically what it's going to be, okay? So, until we see you on our next episode, bye.